maximum of 3 minutes. This round will be agenda items only. Please state your name and function for referral.
Christina Bertzel-Colver, Salem Township. I want to thank the School Board Policy Committee for having a thoughtful discussion at their October meeting about tuberculosis tests for like 15 minutes, wanting to ensure the proper wording and ensuring that the policy wasn't too vague and could be properly implemented. There was also deep discussion and encouragement for community participation in the discussion of the students that attend CTE classes at Central, but policy dictates they have to play sports at Berwick. There were concerns raised about bullying that could occur for these kids caught between two districts and wanting them to have a positive school experience, which absolutely concerns me as well, and I am happy that there was discussion, although I wasn't really happy with the decision. I just wish that you had spent an equal amount of time and meaningful and thoughtful discussions of policy 807.1, display of flags, 123.3, interscholastic athletics, sex-based distinctions, and 824, maintaining professional adult student boundaries. Now, you did make some changes to 2 of those policies, even though those changes seem to have been made outside of the policy meeting, and somehow you made truly terrible policies even worse for our LGBTQ kids by what you took out of them. What was it that Mr. Nestle said when talking about the CTE policy? We should only make decisions that are best for the students, best for the culture, and best for the district. Yet these 3 policies, which will cause actual harm to our students, culture, and district, they move along without discussion or argument. And it is not an over-exaggeration. Studies are showing that the number of trans kids killing themselves has increased dramatically as these anti-LGBTQ policies have exploded in state legislators and local school boards, as hate groups have been pushing for their adoption across this country. I am not going to stand here once again and bore you and outline exactly what is wrong with these policies. I sent you all an email. I hope that you read it. I also know that the district received an open letter from the ACLU explaining that this flag policy specifically violates the First Amendment rights of students and teachers. Again, I'm begging you, stop what you're doing. Stop taking this district down a road that will harm our students, our culture, our district, and our community. Thank you. Christina Culver, Salem Township. I don't even know what else to say. This is not a difference of opinion. We are fighting for love, acceptance, and literal lives of our children. The other side is homophobia and transphobia. I don't know what else to say. My question is, how many children's lives are acceptable costs to this board who are clearly now targeting our LGBTQ kids? So instead of wasting any more of my breath, I'm going to address those amazing, brave, beautiful, gay, bi, lesbian, trans, pan, ace, queer, kids of all colors of the rainbow in this district. I am so sorry that the adults have failed you, that this school board has failed you, that I have failed you. None of this should be happening. No one should be taking away your safe spaces. No one should be trying to take away your First Amendment rights. No one should be trying to make you disappear. This district, this school, this community is better with you in it. We should be doing everything we can to make our kids, you, feel loved and accepted. So, do not let the bullies win. Do not listen to any of this hate disguised as whatever you want to call it. There is nothing wrong with you, but there is definitely something wrong with some of the people in this village. Using their power to pass policies that serve no real purpose and will cause harm to you. They are on the wrong side of this battle. They are on the wrong side of history. But hear my words. This fight is not over, far from it. We will keep fighting for you no matter how long, no matter the cost. We have no other choice. You are that important. You deserve a school that protects, supports, and accepts you for your true, authentic selves. And please know that there are so many people in this community that do love and support you exactly as you are. We started a petition 3 days ago to try to save the pride flag, and we already have 302 people that have signed it very enthusiastically. And to the parents of these awesome kids, join us in standing up and fighting back. Reach out to me to join the resistance. Oh, I did think of one more question for you guys. Has the district asked the insurance carrier if legal challenges based on school board policies that may conflict with state and federal laws prohibiting discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sex are covered, and instead would be excluded from insurance coverage? Is there coverage for claims arising from board policy that restrict the First Amendment rights of our students? Just curious.
Karen Knight, Berwick Area Township. Code 220 of Student Expression and Posting of Materials was adopted July 9th of 2007 and states, the right of public school students to freedom of speech is guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth. The board respects the right of students to express themselves in word or symbol and to distribute and post materials as part of that expression. The policy goes on to state that this right is protected so long as such expression does not interfere with the educational process, harm anyone, encourage unlawful activity, or interfere with another's rights. I believe the proposed flag policy 807.1 not only violates Code 220, but is also a frivolous and unnecessary policy. It is veiled as mandatory display of mandating display of the U.S. flags in our schools. For what purpose? The flag of our nation is already proudly displayed in many areas of every school, and U.S. Flag Code establishes advisory rules for the display and care of our flag. Therefore, the true purpose of this policy is to remove all other flags not related to district programs from classrooms. Not just pride flags, but all other flags. All pro sports teams, flags showing support for law enforcement, fire, or EMS, flags meant to bring attention to causes like cancer awareness or fire prevention. What harm are these flags doing? None. Many of these flags promote acceptance and inclusion, show kids they aren't alone, and most importantly, have the ability to show kids without words that no matter our differences, we are all in this together. For these reasons, policy 807.1 should be permanently rejected as unconstitutional, unnecessary, and harmful to our students. On Code 824, maintain professional, adult, and student boundaries. This policy, while seemingly well-meaning, again stretches into unnecessary distinctions that will limit the ability of staff to effectively aid students in need. I propose you strike out the entire contents after the words social interactions. Then, under prohibited conduct section, add a number 11, any conduct which is unlawful under state or federal law. This would cover all unwanted behavior without ridiculously restrictive prohibitions. Thank you.
Madison Culver, Salem Township. I'm a alumni of Berwick School. I graduated in 2021, 3 years ago. I am LGBT. I am asexual. I am non-binary. And to speak on what the previous speaker said, I have only become happier and healthier since coming out to not only just my family, but everybody, and being open with who I am. And I just want to say that we didn't have pride flags when I was in school. No one really displayed them, but if I would have seen one, I would have been ecstatic. I would have been so incredibly happy. So the fact that you want to take that away is just horrible. And I'm so happy that people want to support people. And the fact that you all want to take that away is just absolutely monstrous. And I just want to help kids feel safe and comfortable in the world. And the fact that you all can sit here and be okay with all of these awful things that are happening, it's just, awful. And the fact that it's not just me, it's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors, it's just awful. I don't know what else to say.
Jacob Kelly, Nescapic Township. I will start off by just saying I am a gender and sexuality expert, currently a doctoral candidate in human sexuality at Widener University with my master's in human sexuality education and specializing in LGBTQA inclusivity, along with working on my dissertation in non-binary gender development and trans studies. I don't really often state my credentials like that because it creates a distance between me and other people. And I will just say this. I read your policies, and I'm going to specifically more talk about the flag one, even though there's some other things. And I also know that there were policies before that. I emailed all of you and haven't heard back. I actually invited you to lunch to sit with me as one-on-one to maybe discuss a little bit more. But specifically the flag, I also sort of agree it's neutral in some way. But let me tell you the point of where we as a community, and I mean the LGBTQIA+ one, might be coming from. I will state that the flag was originally designed and came out in 1978. That's how long it's been here, regardless of what people may think of a new thing. But what it was supposed to do was to unite our community. Because if you thought about that time frame, we were just getting over the fact that homosexuality is seen as a mental illness in the DSM. We were trying to overcome the lavender scare that only happened for those next 30 years of being fired from our jobs for who we are. It also played an important role coming up then in the HIV and AIDS epidemic, which also is another concern of mine here, since I know educational schools are allowed to opt out of that educational program as well. But what I want to say, the flag in itself is designed to be a symbol for when people see it, they feel that they can be who they are. It does no harm. And yes, your policies allow us to have that. There are situations I'd like to ask if we have a Pride Day at your store. If you don't know me, I'm the one that created the Pride in Berwick. And I've talked to more LGBT youth in this town specifically, and in Bloomsburg, and in Northumberland, and in Snyder Union, and every other county and in, that you can know. And I've heard the voices of our youth, our LGBTQIA+ youth. I'm the one talking to them. Their parents are coming to me. They are being harmed at school. And when we think about psychological safety, since that should be in your core curriculum and pillars, the psychological safety of students, the flag is an easy, simple way that we can display. Now, I agree it shouldn't necessarily be a big one, but your policy does restrict to have subtleness and passiveness in that feeling. And that's what creates belonging, that's what creates inclusion. And that is one way, so we can actually lower the statistical rates. Well, I'm not that in the field, but lower our rates of suicide for our youth.
Sorry, my name is Will Ralston and I represent PFLAG, the chapter that covers all of Columbia County and as well as Northumberland, I believe. I have some things to say in response to what was said by some of the people here today. But first, I want to ask one question. Can I yield time to somebody else? Because I would love for the doctor to have a chance to respond, because she's clearly more experienced than a lot of people who are responding with their feelings.
Your 3 minutes is your 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll take my 3 minutes. Title IX covers not just biological sex, it covers gender identity, it covers differences in sexual development, and it is a law that is enforced by the Pennsylvania Human Rights Council. If it is ignored in any policy, you are opening up your district to lawsuits. I just want you to be aware of that. And also I want to thank you for volunteering, because I know, despite some people's beliefs, that you're not actually getting paid to be here. So I really appreciate you taking the time to care about our kids. In addition, there was a statistic that was particularly vexing for me, that was said that people who have had gender reaffirming surgeries have a very high rate of regret. Was that the name of the word? Yeah. Actually, that regret level is below 1%, which is significantly lower than the level of regret for people who have had life-saving heart surgeries. So I just want you to think about that. And I would love to know where you got your information from, when you quoted that statistic that you pulled out. I think that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Willa Lewis, I represent PFLAG, which is an organization that has representation in your school district.
You have, what was the name again?
Llewellyn.
You have a speaker here from that group already, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Ralston?
Yes.
He's your speaker.
Okay.
He's the group representative.
Okay.
He can speak again if he wants to.
Yeah. consent agenda for.
Okay, so Llewellyn was going to speak on my behalf because they actually served as a school board member for Bloomsburg School District for a number of years, so they're far more knowledgeable about procedures than I am, but is this,
You live in the district now?
again, PFLAG. I am representing PFLAG, which represents members in your
In the
district.
community, right,
Me.
yeah.
Yes.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so you're representing the group.
You can time back for your talk.
Yeah, am I getting time back for your questions? I'm just curious.
You can have some time back for my question.
Okay, great. So, was this a consent agenda when you voted on items 2 and 3? Was that a consent agenda? Do you not know the answer to that right now? If you're not voting on them separately, then it's a consent agenda, and I believe a consent agenda is only to be used for policies that are not considered controversial. And if this wasn't controversial, I don't know what is. Not to mention, this is supposed to be a public meeting. You guys are not actually audible to us. There's no transparency in the communication between the board and anybody else in this room. So if you have things to say, I would love it if you would look at me when I talk, and thank you for doing that finally. But also to make yourselves heard so that we know where you stand exactly. But again, consent agenda, not appropriate for these particular items that you just flew through. Do I have anything else to say? No. That's it. Thank you.
Nancy Hickson, Berwick Borough. I'm sitting here, why is it going on that you guys are taking this into such a political thing? Worried about different, and I'm not coming up with the whole thing with the flag gender. You brought up about sports teams. I was happy, and as you can see, I'm probably just about your age too. And I loved when my teachers had one, because I was of the generation that I didn't know teachers came out of the building. I thought they always lived there. So when I saw they actually had a flag from Penn State, being a, quote, in the old days, tomboy, I would go to them and I would actually bet them, and I made a lot of chocolate bars that way. But it was because they had a flag from Penn State. And that's how I learned about college, because my parents never went to college. And that's how then I went on to go on and get all the way up to my master's. I would like to ask, and I don't care whether it's President Yost, I don't care if it's Superintendent Kupsky, how many are actually in this district that we have to worry about these flags? I think it's more important than getting the controversy, and it sure seems like a lot of negative controversy, and we're setting a fence up in this district again, that we need to just sit back, and I haven't heard it come up in a public meeting, and I should have, if there are that many issues in this district. Come November, this thing is gonna end up the whole United States making decisions on this. So why are we bringing it forward in this small community? I told you last month about your negative culture, and I feel it's still coming out in this, and I think you just need to step back and think about that. And think about, as somebody said, the education. How many policies have you done that is supporting the education in this district, more than creating the negative controversy? Just my 2 cents.
I'm not familiar with the procedure, but I'm assuming that I'm next in line here. My name is Vonna Clary. I'm the school psychologist and have been for 35 years. I represent a recognized organization in this district, Action Together, plus actually I've worked in this district for 16 months in a day long ago. Now, I hold a PhD in school psychology, plus the 35 years of experience. I think that gives me a little grounding to say some things that might help you as you decide these questions, because I'm coming to you with experience and knowledge. What I can say to you is, there are 4 things you should think about right now, okay? Number 1, do no harm, just like the first speaker said. But I've got numbers that say that the harm you can do is catastrophic, okay? We're not talking, oh gee, you're gonna bump some kids out. We're talking about kids killing themselves. I have worked with these kids over 35 years in New York, New Jersey, as well as Pennsylvania. I have been heavily involved in treating LGBTQ kids. I have seen them struggle with how they can stay alive in this world that rejects them. Anything that adults do, especially important adults, like parents and school people, that add to their burden, harms these kids, and you don't have the right to do that. Where people who work with kids, like doctors, you gotta follow like this Hippocratic oath, do no harm. What happens when that little oath is sidestepped? Okay, 43% of kids, and I've got the research if anybody wants to look it up, I'd be happy to share. 43% of LGBTQ kids are clinically depressed versus 20% of cisgender kids. Trans kids are the most affected, always. 60% of them are clinically depressed. To emphasize this point, 40% of the group of depressed LGBTQ kids have thought of suicide, with 14% attempting to complete the act. I have been sitting with kids struggling to take weapons out of their hands as they try to kill themselves. That's what it carries a memory, especially when you see the look in their eyes. These numbers are horrific, but what you're talking about is making it worse. These kids, the 2/3 of the whole LGBTQ group that was tested, surveyed, which was 20,000, okay, across the country, said that what got them depressed the most was being banned from talking about the fact that they exist or that they have existed. Sorry, I talk too much. I have a lot more. I know I have to sit down. I will leave my email address and phone number with everybody. I just want to finish what I had started earlier. I'm compulsive. The policy under discussion does affect what we're talking about. It affects education as well. Depressed kids don't learn very well. If you want them to learn, you have to not get depressed. With this group of vulnerable kids, the way to get them not depressed is to accept them, to show them this is a safe place for them. When the kids who were depressed were tallied up, they said they weren't depressed, not before, but they became depressed because they were not accepted by their communities. 1/3 of them specifically stated school policies as having triggered their depression. I think that sort of very much affects your core value of trying to educate these kids. You can't educate a depressed kid very well, and you certainly can't educate a dead one. The other thing that I want to stress is there's a hierarchy of needs that is built into society. Some needs are more important than others. Keeping these kids intact, educated, and alive is more important than all the politics one wants to throw around. They should come first. They should always come first. And right now they're not. And really you have the power to change that. I have the feeling you came into this room with your minds made up. Please open them up. Please listen. There is a medical center right down the road that you can go to. Call up the pediatric psychology department. Ask to have a little conference with somebody there. And they can explain to you what this means. And maybe you will hear it better from them. But honestly, they're going to say the same thing that we're saying. Because it's the truth and it's been proven over and over again. This is not a social experiment. The social experiment has been the last 100 years where these kids have been ignored and they've been killing themselves and they've been having lives less than what they could be because of what we've done to them. That has been the social experience. Let's try something new. Let's try acceptance.